based on the consultations we did with Canadians and our own defense.
Prime Minister Trudeau agrees to increase defense spending by 70% over the next 10 years to meet NATO obligations. It's Ontario's first progressive Conservative speech from the throne in 15 years, and Premier Doug Ford lays out his agenda today.
It's taken young lives, it has traumatized.
Mayor John Tory and Police Chief Mark Saunders collaborate to increase police protection in Toronto's high-risk areas. Humber News starts now. Hello and welcome to Humber News. I'm Damian Alley coming to you from our newsroom here at Humber College's North Campus. It's July 12th and here's what's making news today. Like the uncomfortable uncle who came to dinner, U.S. President Donald Trump arrived at the NATO Alliance Summit in Brussels, Belgium on Wednesday, only to begin haranguing his allies for failing to meet spending targets. As they headed into a second day of talks, Trump took to Twitter to reveal what he told NATO leaders privately on Wednesday, calling on all allies to honor a 2014 commitment to spend 2% of economic output on defense. President Trump tweeted the U.S. is paying for Europe's protection, then loses billions on trade. They must pay 2% of GDP immediately, not by 2025. At the summit, Trump told other NATO leaders they should increase their defense spending to 4% of their country's GDP. Trump has long been criticizing other NATO countries that have not met the 2% benchmark on military spending. Meanwhile, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said defense investments will be increased by 70% over the coming decade, acknowledging the importance of NATO at the press conference today.
We reaffirmed our commitment in the joint statement to the Wales Declaration, to the Wales Agreements. And in Wales, all NATO countries agreed to reverse the cuts and move towards 2%.
Trump arrived in the UK this morning for his first official visit following the NATO summit and amid Brexit negotiations. Trump is expected to face over 200,000 protesters throughout the streets of London. He is also set to meet with the Queen, Prime Minister Theresa May, and visit Scotland as part of his agenda. Fierce discussions regarding Brexit are expected over lunch, talks following comments Trump made about the recent developments to be the government's strategy, white paper, and May coming to the proposal's defense.
The people voted to break it up, so I would imagine that's what they'll do, but maybe they'll take it a little bit of a different route. So I don't know if that's what they voted for. I just want the people to be happy.
We have come to an agreement at the proposal we're putting to the European Union, which absolutely delivers on the Brexit that people voted for. They voted for us to take back control of our money, our law and our borders, and that's exactly what we will do.
Trump and wife Melania will spend this evening at a black tie event in Blenheim Palace in Oxfordshire and as guest of U.S. Ambassador Woody Johnson at his London home. Ontario's new government will lay out its plan for the province today in the throne speech at Queen's Park. The speech is expected to highlight several of the promises Conservative Premier Ford made during his campaign.
We will deliver on our plan for the people. We will bring accountability, transparency, and integrity to the taxpayers of Ontario. We will reduce your taxes, reduce your gas prices, and keep more money in your pocket.
Ford was sworn in as the 26th Premier of Ontario last month, and our reporter Taz Dhaliwal is live at Queen's Park. Hi Taz. The Premier has made many promises from reducing the price of gas to lowering taxes in the province. What are people expecting for Premier Ford's speech today?
All right, thank you, Damien. And so the throne speech is going to be delivered by the Lieutenant Governor, Elizabeth Dowdesdale. And all the throne speech really does is it just sets the agenda for the first session. Now, this throne speech will officially be opening the first session of the 42nd Parliament of Ontario. Now, this is also the first throne speech that we're going to be seeing from the PC government in 15 years.
Interesting. Premier Ford also announced yesterday that Hydro One's CEO and board have resigned, and this is one of his main campaign promises. How will this affect Ontario's hydro situation going forward?
Yep, it looks like the $6 million man has resigned. Now, the thing is, just because the CEO resigned and the board has also resigned, now that doesn't mean that we're going to be seeing any immediate or automatic hydro decreases. And yesterday at Queen's Park during a press conference, Premier Doug Ford said that he hopes this will change the mindset and also the culture at Hydro One. And we still don't know who the next CEO is going to be or who else is going to make up the board. And all of that still remains to be seen.
Interesting. Now, while we're on the topic of the PC agenda, Taz, what are the 3 main priorities that the PC government will implement this week?
Yep, the PC government has outlined that they have 3 main priorities, and these priorities are also set to be very urgent and time sensitive. Now, the first thing that they plan to work on is the York University strike. Now, they want to enact back to work legislation. They also hope to get students back into classes by fall. Now, the second thing is the cap and trade program. Of course, Ford has said that they're going to repeal the program. Although now they're also saying that they're going to appeal any carbon tax. They're going to go to court with this. They're going to legislate. They also want to ensure that there aren't any future carbon taxes that are going to be implemented on the government of Ontario. Now, the third thing concerns a wind project that has already, it's gone underway. It's under construction. It's in the last stage. Now, this wind project is currently taking place in northeastern Ontario in the Prince Edward County. And just recently, the CEO of this wind company said that it's going to cost about $100 million to scrap the program. So whether or not the Ford government will actually be able to follow through on this promise, that also still remains to be seen as well.
Interesting. And finally, Taz, just for you, we're seeing Premier Ford has already fulfilled a couple of his campaign promises, and cap and trade to repealing the sex ed curriculum. What else can we expect from the Premier's promises moving forward?
Well, I'm sure there's still a lot of people who are hoping that Ford is going to follow through on his promise of buck a beer. And now also the PC government, they pulled the sex ed curriculum and they're enacting a curriculum that's about 20 years old and it's from 1998. So we still have to see what the new sex ed curriculum is going to look like. And just looking back at everything that the Ford government has been doing within the past week, it looks like we should be seeing a lot more cuts. Now, these cuts really go against what the NDP government stands for. And, once the session is underway here at Queen's Park, I'm sure we're going to be seeing a lot of contention from the official opposition, the NDP, but also the Liberals as well. And, of course, we're going to be seeing a lot of heated debate and rebuttals. Now, the government has been moving pretty fast, but once the Ontario legislature is underway, I'm sure we're going to see things slow down a little bit. Just a lot of heated debate, really.
Yeah, it should be interesting. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. That was our reporter, Taz Dhaliwal, live at Queen's Park. Taz, thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Damien.
Toronto's Mayor John Tory and Police Chief Mark Saunders held a press conference at police headquarters in downtown Toronto today. They announced a summer police program that will patrol the city during hours more susceptible to gun violence. Launched in collaboration with City Hall and the CCHC, the Gun Violence Strategic Program will add additional police officers on the streets of Toronto between the hours of 7 p.m. and 3 a.m. These are the hours that see the most shooting incidents and will be patrolled for the rest of the summer.
This strategic plan will start next Friday, the 20th, and will go for approximately 8 weeks. And there will be continuous and ongoing evaluations to determine if any operations or reconfigurations of the plan need to take place. Our focus during this time frame will be intelligence-led with the intention of not saturating the neighborhoods, but to have our police officers focus on those very few who are motivated to have access and to use guns across the city.
You asked that question.
Mayor John Tory added that the plan looked at preventing gun violence on the citizens' front.
Two categories. One is quite literally programs we could look at expand. I believe we must be doing all that we can to prevent someone from joining a gang and picking up a gun. We must be doing all that we can to provide for opportunities and hope and support. We will also be increasing the funding available for city-run programs to give more support and opportunity to our most vulnerable youth. Specific proposals will be outlined prior to the next meeting of City Council.
Tory also said that the funding was approved by the federal government.
I have been assured that this funding is available, it's been announced, it is available, and I've been assured that they will be making every effort to make sure that it flows as quickly as possible to help address gang violence in our city in particular.
The City of Toronto saw 212 shootings this year so far, with 40% more than last year. Both Tory and Saunders were asked to under fire for the lack of preventative measures, especially after the shooting at Kensington Market, which injured a woman and left 2 dead. The back-and-forth trade battle between the U.S. and China continues to rage on, with neither country ready to back down. Just days after imposing $34 billion worth of tariffs on Chinese goods, President Donald Trump has announced his plans for even more. A spokesman for China's Ministry of Commerce said that the country doesn't want a trade war but will retaliate if necessary. Chinese experts warned that these tariffs will seriously drag down economic growth. Hong Lin, an expert on international affairs, said that the United States' actions have challenged the global multilateral trading system. Trump has also argued that China's trade policy is unfair and it steals the technology of American businesses. Long-awaited improvements are expected this fall to the TTC's 29 Dufferin bus route, one of the 5 busiest surface transit corridors in the city. Ornella Correo reports.
Based on a report released earlier this week by the TTC, changes are coming to the 29 Dufferin bus route as the population along the corridor is expected to grow 17% over the next 10 years. The TTC will implement a routing change that provides full and express service between Wilson Station and the Exhibition Place Dufferin gates. Also, they will eliminate the 29B short turn between College Street and the Exhibition. For some, the changes can come sooner.
The waiting time. It seems like all the time you have to wait. Then the next one says not in service. And then you wait. And then the 2 or 3 coming together.
The report also notes the introduction of high-capacity double-length buses on Sundays to carry more passengers per vehicle. The 29 Dufferin route sees roughly 43,000 riders per weekday. How long do you usually wait for the 29 Dufferin bus?
Sometimes as long as half an hour. I think that's way too long. I think the maximum anybody should be waiting for a bus is 10 minutes.
The changes along Dufferin, planned for October, is expected to cost more than $750,000. For Humber News, I'm Ornella Correo.
Now for an update on the Bruce MacArthur case, Lindsay Charlton has more.
It's a quiet day in the Mallory Crescent neighborhood, but Toronto police are continuing their excavation of a ravine behind 53 Mallory Crescent, where alleged serial killer Bruce MacArthur is believed to have dumped the remains of bodies of some 8 men he murdered. Reporters were given a glimpse into the excavation in the ravine last week, and Detective Sergeant Hank Idzigna gave an update on what forensics have found.
This afternoon, human remains were located at one of the first digging sites. These remains have been brought to Ontario Forensic Pathology Services for further examination. The excavation continues, and we anticipate being here for, at least until next week.
Toronto police returned to the house on Mallory Crescent, where the remains of 7 suspected murder victims were found buried in planters earlier this year, with cadaver dogs on July 3rd, and began excavating in a ravine behind the property. More dismembered body parts were found, prompting forensic officers to continue sifting. The remains of Majid Kahan, 58, have yet to be found. The investigation is expected to continue until the end of this week. Investigators are expected to continue the excavation over the next few weeks. MacArthur is due back in court on July 23rd. I'm Lindsay Charlton, Humber News.
51st Peaks Toronto Caribbean Carnival officially launched at Nathan Phillips Square on Tuesday. It's one of the largest cultural events in Canada, and the 4-week-long festival goes until August 12th to celebrate Canada's freedom and diversity. And if the past is an indication, at least 1 million people are expected to flock to Toronto to attend the festival. Our reporter Catherine Koshi has the story.
Peaks Toronto Caribbean Carnival is celebrating its 51st anniversary with pomp and spirit. With the theme celebrating Canada's freedom and diversity, the carnival infuses Caribbean music, cuisine, and revelry. The official launch at Nathan Phillips Square Tuesday morning embraced Caribbean heritage, and it was a spectacular show.
Well, to me, growing up being Trinidadian, carnival is a big part of our culture. So to be able to be a part of it and represent it and help it to continue to grow and gain awareness within Canada and North America, it's something that I feel honored to be a part of.
The event had various bands performing. For the artists, it was more than costumes they wore or their performance.
It's more than just putting on the costume. The costume's just the art of it, but it stems from slavery and celebrating freedom. And we're out here just living what our ancestors couldn't live.
They acknowledged Toronto's culture of accepting diverse communities and supporting them.
It's definitely reflective of Toronto culture, being so diverse, you know, white, black, brown, like everybody can participate in our festival, and it's so awesome.
Toronto Mayor John Tory was one of the official guests at the launch, speaking about the carnival's importance to the city.
It lights the whole city up. You see people involved in the parade, in the mass bands, in every part of it, from all walks of life in the city, including in particular, of course, our Caribbean community, but many others as well.
People could enjoy authentic Caribbean food and take pictures with the artists in amazing costumes. One of the largest outdoor festivals in North America, the Carnival goes on until August 12th and will feature floats, music and celebrities. The highlight of the Carnival and its largest event, the Grand Parade, will take place on August 4th. This scorching sun doesn't stop people from coming at Nathan Phillips Square. They have their umbrellas, they have their shades on, and they're all set to groove to some amazing music and enjoy some spicy food. Catherine Koshi, Humber News.
Stay tuned, because when we come back, we're going to be telling you what's happening in the world of sports, and Clement Go will have your 3-day forecast.
Things are starting to heat up here at the Humber Arboretum. Right now, if you have some sunscreen, sunglasses, or a friend to play with, clearly I don't have any of that right now, then it is time to bring those out. Summer is hitting us like no tomorrow. I'll tell you more about it with updates later.